Bolt your windows, lock your doors, check your closets, look under your bed, and then prepare yourself. For it's another episode of Dark Night of the Podcast.
Nostalgia, a word that comes up quite often on our episodes of Dark Night of the podcast during these recordings, because there's so many films I feel that we watch, Troy and myself, that we watch alongside all of you, our lovely listeners, that stir up certain feelings or emotions or memories. It's amazing how cinema can do that. The art form of creating moving visual media in general, be it television, be it film. It's amazing the memories that these visuals, that these experiences can hold for us, and revisiting these things can stir up all kinds of feelings inside of you. But I got to say something about nostalgia. I think in the last week or so, we've lost a couple of really prominent celebrities who sit right there in that realm for me. When we're talking about nostalgia, these are specifically two individuals who really, I grew up watching and seeing their faces time and time again. And so, as of today, Troy and I are recording today, and it was just announced recently that we lost James Vanderbeek, whom has been a consistent staple just on TV screens and movies in our lives, and that's so weird to me. But also last week, and this one really hit me hard right in the gut, and I just got to acknowledge it, was the passing of Catherine O'Hara. And neither of these names do I necessarily associate with the horror genre per se, though, with O'Hara, she has several horror adjacent projects. But just as nostalgic figures in our lives who are introduced to us through cinema, through television, through moving motion visuals, even like in forms of claymation for her with Frankenweenie and so forth. It's really just shocking to lose some of these individuals. So I thought it was an important note to kind of start on, giving us a chance to talk about just these two really, I think, prominent individuals who affected our lives. Troy, I mean, you're a little bit older than I am, but I'm sure that both of these performers had to have some influence on you to a certain extent as well.
Oh, absolutely. I was devastated to hear Catherine O'Hara passed. I mean, what a what a joy, what an icon. She brought so much just charisma, charm to anything she did. I'm so glad that she had. I don't think she ever had like a dry spell in her career, but I'm glad that she really got back into like the mainstream. In front of everybody with Schitt's Creek, and that really catapulted her back to the forefront of being a recognizable, celebrated comedian because she's hilarious, and she's given some fabulous performances. Couple of performances of hers, I think she really should have been nominated for an Oscar, if not one. Um, Best in Show for your consideration, two performances that are just comedic gold. That I feel like she had to have been in sixth place, in the nominations both those years for that. And then yes, James Vanderbeek. I mean, that one hits really hard because I mean he's pretty much my same age. And looking at that, I'm like, holy fuck. Yeah, I mean, I grew up with Dawson Leary, Dawson's Creek. I wasn't as a die-hard of a fan, like I haven't seen every episode, but now I really want to go back and revisit it. What a tragedy. I mean, probably many young boys' first young gay boy's first big crush was James Vanderbeek, I'm assuming. Those blonde locks and just his whole persona, especially Dawson aspiring to be a filmmaker. I think we can relate to that. I could relate to that. So two that I really think that deserve a few minutes of our discussion at the beginning of this podcast. So please let's recognize these two genuine talents that I know just from scrolling through social media affected not just me and Roger, but affected many of you listeners. So R.I.P. Catherine O'Hara, James Vanderbeek. We lost two really good ones. But you know what? I I guess I was able to kind of forget about it for a few minutes watching this gem of a fucking piece of cinema that talk about nostalgia. Yeah.
Talk about it.
Oh my goodness. This is 2003, so this is post Scream. I've talked about this many times and on the podcast. Scream, Roger, Scream 7. Are you excited for Scream 7? I mean, 2 weeks and it's already breaking records. I know there's a whole thing, "Oh, we're gonna boycott it." Bullshit, because it's already breaking records, in terms of pre-ticket sales. But, we'll circle back to that because while I'm excited about Scream 7, just some of the clips and stuff that I've seen have me a little bit worried about what it's gonna be, but we will have that discussion, I think, when we both see it.
Maybe a Patreon.
Maybe a Patreon, because I'm wondering if we're having the same kind of maybe issues with it based on trailers.
Yeah,
Like,
we are.
I wanna be super excited about it. I'm gonna go see it, but I'm a really hesitant based on a lot of the stuff from the trailers. It just seems like it's I this is the 7th it just seems like it's a rehash. I don't need to see Sydney stalking her with a fucking gun, but let's save that because I could be, totally have my mind blown by it because it is Kevin Williamson, connection to Dawson's Creek, right? Um,
Full circle.
yeah,
Full
it's his
circle with that.
it's he directed it, so I have high hopes. It's his baby. I would think there's nobody else closer to the Scream franchise other than Wes Craven. Um, well, Nev Campbell, but, you know what I'm saying. Anyway, so the original Scream ushered in I mean, revived the slasher genre, folks. If you're not old enough to remember, the slasher genre was dead. Scream came along, revitalized it. I would say for a good 5 years, maybe after Scream, maybe 6 years, you got tons of, well, quote unquote copycats. Not only things that made it into theaters like Urban Legend, Valentine, I know what you did last summer, but you also had a tons of the direct to video slasher homages to Scream. Final Stab, Do You Want to Know a Secret, The Pool, School's Out, and Shredder. And here we are with Shredder.
Here we fucking are, and I picked this one, and that's why the word nostalgia kicked off this episode. And I do have to say, my next Patreon episode is going to be the horror adjacent films of Catherine O'Hara, because there are several very specific titles that are very horror adjacent. So please know that will be coming in a couple days for those of you who like to tune in.
For Patreon, and another thing we need to do, Roger, before Oscar night is we need to hop on and do that Patreon about weapons because we've
Weapons.
been talking about it.
We've
We
been
need to squeeze
cackling like hens.
we need to find about a half hour just to talk because while I liked it, I think it might be a surprising conversation actually. So
Yeah,
put a pin in that,
I'm
and
ready.
we will do that as well. But right now, it's all about death to snowboarders.
Death to snowboarders. Oh, Troy, I picked this title for nostalgia purposes. The cover art alone, owned it on DVD, and enjoyed the hell out of it. And, right around the time this came out, this was 2003. I'm a sophomore in high school. Perfect era of my life for this title to hold some importance. I'm not a snowboarder. I don't do anything in the snow. I live in Cleveland, so I see it all the fucking time, a la right now. But I ain't out frolicking in the snow. I'm certainly not playing any kind of physical sports in the snow. But something about this film connected with me as a junior. I'm sorry, junior year of high school. Just because I think it had like this kind of punky attitude to it that I was like, that's cool. This is cool. Like, there's something about this that I'm like, this is badass. Maybe I will be a snowboarder someday. No, you're going to be a homosexual. But you know what? You can always dream, Roger. And so this film, I had really good memories of it. I remember watching it. I remember having a blast. I thought it was a great time. Hadn't seen it in honestly like probably over 10 years, Troy. I mean, it's been closer to 20, probably. Like, it's been a really long time. Oh, let me just tell you, those 20 years haven't necessarily been kind to Shredder, have they, Troy?
No, and it is a film that I have not seen. Many of the films that we choose, I love the fact that we are able to revisit some of these films that I probably would not revisit otherwise. I think that's one of the joys about doing this podcast for me, is getting to go back and revisit the films, because I can tell you I have not seen Shredder since the day it hit DVD shelves. I remember I was in, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and it was I worked at a Mr. Movies, and it hit the shelf. Yeah, I since I worked there, I got to check out the films before anybody else. Any slasher film, I snatched it up. I grabbed this, I took it back home and watched it, and yeah, I thought it was fun. I thought I thought for a slasher film, it was a lot of fun. There was a couple memorable things that has stuck with me through the years related to this film, and then the film got a little bit of a resurgence because it got a beautiful new poster art and like I think a was it a, Blu-ray release by one of those, companies? I don't keep up on it. I know there's so many people that are like, Blu-ray fanatics and like Vinegar Syndrome and all the I don't. So forgive me for my lack of knowledge when it comes to that, but I know it did get a Blu-ray release and it kind of brought more attention to the film. Um, yeah, wow. I don't wanna say it's a rough watch. Like, I'm never bored watching it, but, it's what is the right word for it? It's really hard for me to think of a word that I want to put on this film. Um, I don't know.
It's
Just
enjoyable to watch it to a certain extent, but it is not a good movie.
it's not a good movie. The characters are grating and all over the place. They switch motivations and things like that just willy-nilly just so it can fit the script. It does meander on a little too long, I think. It makes some really weird choices with characters and kind of what ends up happening to them. And then like the whole motivation for the killing to be happened, I don't think it was fleshed out very well at all. And I don't even think even in the flashback when they try to attempt to show what happened, it's you don't see anything. It's super confusing. Um, yeah, I don't know about this one. I'm glad we got to revisit it, and I will say, like, some things that stand out right away is, like, the cinematography. I mean, anytime you have a beautiful ski location, mountains, snowy mountains with ski lifts, look at Frozen, last week's selection. That's why these 2 pair very well together. It's beautiful scenery, but holy shit. Yeah, this movie is just again, I'm trying to when the right word comes to me, I will say it, but I don't know. I don't yeah, it's not a good movie, and it's wow.
It's such a by the numbers slasher, and I mean that and not in a good way. I've used that term before and been like, "But I don't mind it." Here, this is so much a formulaic we've seen this before, you just add snow. We
Yeah.
have seen this exact story told so many times. The only thing that makes this stand out is the fact that it is snowy and it is involving snowboarders, and that's the one thing that differentiates this from other films we've seen. But you could say that about a lot of slashers. But, certain films like The Pool, I think, have certain aspects that made them stand out more or had other defining traits about those films. Whereas this, really, it's not the kills. The kills are kind of lame. It's not the characters. The characters are fucking obnoxious. It's the snow. That's the only thing that makes it stand out, but it's just this film is so incredibly dated, and that I think is was the it was the hardest pill for me to swallow. We've watched other films that are from the '80s, that are from the '90s, that still hold up more than this film does, and that's shocking to me. Like, this film, it's 20 years old, but it doesn't have to be such a product of its time, but that was the crowd they were trying to appeal to. Obviously, this is a slasher made for teenagers. Every character in the film has like a weird sense of humor, and they're really pushing that humor more than they actually are the horror. This film is never scary. It's way more often trying to be funny than it's scary. And it's full of one liners and references circa late '90s, early 2000s that would have really hit then that just feel very much past the prime now. There's definitely just this weird separation. When I watch this movie, it feels like it's so long ago, and it just didn't hold up. It's such a project of the times, but so is snowboarding. Like, I really feel like this was really popular in the late '90s, early 2000s. I used to play snowboarding video games on PlayStation with my friends all the time. A lot of the things that they're saying or the little stoner quips that they're making just sound very timely for this era. But I just don't think that aged well. I don't think that carried on with this film. Like, there's nothing about this film that feels relevant today at all.
I think the thing that when you mentioned the pool, when we covered the pool, I think we were both very complimentary of it. We did admit it had problems, but I think we were very complimentary of it because at a certain point, the pool, Roger, really hits a stride, and it becomes um, electric. It becomes exciting. I mean, you're engaged. Like it hits a stride. This film never does that. This film just kind of clunks along. Like I said, I'm not necessarily bored, but the pacing is really off. The climax to me just kind of falls flat, and the film leaves or ends on a really horrible CGI thing that kind of leaves a bad taste in my mouth, and then a comment from our main protagonist that leaves a bad taste in my mouth, and we'll get to that as well. I think you know what I'm talking
Yep.
about. Yeah, we should get into it because I really don't wanna spend 2 hours talking about this film, Roger. I feel like there's nothing less I wanna do because,
Don't tell the listeners that. Oh my
oh,
god,
but
they won't leave us a 5-star review if they hear that
oh,
you don't wanna do it.
they're probably well, no, I wanna talk about the film, just not for 2 hours, because trust me, I watched this film, like, 3 times in the last 2 days, and I will say, one of the reasons I had to watch it so many times when I sit there and say I'm not bored. Maybe I'm lying because I had to watch this film maybe, like, once or twice more than I usually do our other films because I kept losing interest. I just kept l losing interest, or my mind would I was like, "Wait, I have to rewind this. What happened?" I think that's the type of film we're dealing with here, and we are talking about 2003's Shredder. And yeah, death to snowboarders, that's the whole concept of the film. I will say, this opening scene, or at least the opening kill, set my expectations really high because I think it actually is really a good effect. But again, we just jump right into this action with a snowboarder going down a slope, and then somebody's chasing him. At first, you don't know really what's going on. I didn't realize the guy was like supposed to be the killer that's chasing him, but he is. And I'm assuming the snowboarder knows he's being chased because he's trying to get away, but then there's this moment where the skier, because okay, so we have keep in mind because it gets confusing. We have two separate groups here. We have the snowboarders or the shredders, and then we have the skiers. And the killer is always wearing like a all black ski outfit with on skis. So somehow he gets ahead of this snowboarder guy and proceeds to pull a wire across the slope, and the snowboarder runs into the wire and hits it with his neck. And I will say, again, I was my jaw. This looks fucking gnarly. When you see the neck hit the wire, and just rip the head back, it's pretty fucking impressive. And then the snowboarder falls on the ground, and we get that shot of like just the wide open neck wound. It is disgusting. It's gory. I was like, holy hell, yes, yes, yes. Unfortunately, this is about it. For the rest of the film, there's almost not a lick of blood. And in fact, one of the characters, like character that should have suffered probably one of the worst deaths, actually kills herself on accident. I mean, that's the type of film we're dealing with here.
Yeah, yeah, from the moment you see the font hit the screen, you know what era this is. And like you mentioned the cinematography being pretty, but there's also kind of a flatness to everything that also feels very direct to DVD. It's pretty because the location is beautiful. The mountains, the snow, the trees you see all over this mountainside. And it looks great on camera, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the camera work itself is always good. But like you see this really dated font and yeah, right away it feels like circa the millennium, and it never lets go of that feeling, and this was an era that just really wasn't very complimentary in the sense of when you think of movies from, like, the early 2000s that were trying really hard to be hip. We saw, like, Turistas, bad green screen and bad digital transitions and just cheap looking everything. Because a lot of these digital things that were being implemented, they were still learning the craft, and now that's been refined a bit. But I recently watched Valentine, which is from 2001, and because Valentine doesn't depend on any of those cheap tropes from this era, Valentine honestly looks 10 times better than this film. And I understand it was probably a bigger budget. I understand, it had a bigger studio behind it, but it's just a straightforward slasher. It's slick, it's sleek, it looks pretty, they shoot it well, and they don't try to make it like a time capsule of the early 2000s. They're not leaning heavy into technology or anything like that. Here, it feels so circa early 2000s down to the visual quality that it is distracting because it just, again, it has not aged well. So you have this big chase sequence and they throw you right into it. And you do end up finding out the identity of this character later, but it's so abrupt that you're like, wow, there's this cool sequence, but I know nothing about this individual at all. I just see this guy get chased on a snowboard. I don't know how the fuck the skier got down to the bottom of the hill, but apparently he can transport because it happens several times over the course of the film. And there's this big elaborate sequence where the guy gets his head sliced off. And yeah, the effect looks great. It does. You have that shot, that aerial shot over above him where it pulls back to reveal him laying there in the snow. Super gnarly. Sets your expectations high. I forgot that there really were no other really good kills in this film. Truly. There's one other one that's shocking at the end of the movie, but it has some problems. But this is really the best you're going to get out of this film, and then you're into the story. And it does set your expectations kind of high for something that never comes from it, and that's disappointing. This is a slasher that's so concerned about appealing to a certain young demographic of viewers that it spends all of its time, it wastes all of its energy on that, and it forgets to be scary, and it forgets to focus on the horror elements, and I really think that's one of the greatest. I mean, there's several problems with this film, but the Achilles heel is it when it needs to be a slasher, it just never ever goes hard enough. It never leans into it enough, and that's a problem that plagues this whole film the whole runtime.
Well, it fails to create its own identity, I think, and yeah, you're right. The film looks pretty because of the scenery. It's not because of any inventive camera work or any interesting camera work, because I would agree with you, the film does look very flat. It's definitely filmed like a made-for-TV movie, that you're not gonna get any camera tricks or any interesting camera angles. It's all very, very flat. But, going back to this, film, one of the things that is an issue is that it never tries to get its own identity. It tries to do what it knows a slasher film should do, and I'm going to say, like, jumping from this opening kill, which again, we don't know anything about the character, we don't know when this supposedly happened, it's just that the first kill, we're in it, and then it cuts to keep in mind, and this is what I'm saying, we're in 2003, Roger. Do we really need this lone female in the shower horror trope in 2003? We've seen it. We've seen it done many, many, many times in better movies. Psycho, of course, The Funhouse. We have seen this exact same scene so many times, and it's like, this is 2003. Did we really need to see this again? But I think it's the filmmaker saying, "Oh, this is what a slasher film should do, so we're gonna do it," because you get the blonde in the shower. Someone comes into her room, looks at her panties, all of a sudden goes in the bathroom, pulls the shower curtain open, scares her, and it's just her beautiful blue-eyed boyfriend, Cole. But again, why, this stupid shower scene trope? And that's the problem with this film, as I was saying, it does not have its own identity. It just goes through motions of what it thinks a slasher film should do.
Earlier, you were struggling to find a word to describe the film, and I think, it's not awful because I still have some joy when I watch it, but Lord, is it stupid, and it's simple, and it's very uninspired. Like, it really is the skeleton structure of what needs to be a slasher, but it adds nothing to it to at all give it any charisma or character, you know? Again, it only adds snow. So once you start to meet these characters, I have no issue with a bitchy female thrown into the group of cohorts, you know? I love it. I prefer if one of the gals is a stone cold bitch. I think I need it. I need it. I'll say that I need it. But there's a certain way to do it. And I'm gonna tell you right now, Kimberly is not it. You meet this character of Kimberly, and it's not that she's a bitch, because she's a bitch. It's not just that she's a bitch. She's just like an awful person. And she's taking advantage of Cole, who, like, Cole has his own issues. Like, Cole is not perfect by any means. He has certain lines over the course of the film that are questionable. He seems kind of like a lump, but he's trying, and he in no way deserves the level of emotional abuse that he gets from this broad. And yeah, so just to open up on the sexy moment with her, and immediately, first thing, they have a bitchy interaction where he brings her a rose and she's like a bitch about it. And like, I just think in order to have characters that have flaws, they've got to have some certain redeeming qualities as well. And I think a lot of the characters in this film are void of redeeming qualities. And that makes it a really hard pill to swallow when there's so many unlikable, just obnoxious, not just unlikable, but horribly obnoxious individuals thrown into one scenario. Like, so many shitty people making bad choices, like, it leaves a sour taste in your mouth. There's one character out of the group who I think is pretty cool, but the rest of them are just kinda fucking miserable to watch on screen. Like, what do you think about the characters?
I said it earlier, these characters are horrible people. Kimberly takes the cake for being, I'm like, I'm with you. I love a good bitchy character. Give me a Chris Hargensen, give me a Melissa from Friday the 13th Part 7 if they're charismatic. If there is anything, Kimberly is just an evil, conniving bitch. Cole, yes, he has his issues, but he seems like he's a genuinely a nice guy. Cole's somebody yeah, he's genuinely nice, and she is. We find out she's stringing him along with the promise of sex. Like she wants to get what she wants to get things from him, so she keeps stringing him along with promises of sex, and it was supposed to culminate in them going to this cabin, the cabin for a romantic weekend alone together. He's like, "Oh, I can't wait for us to get to the cabin alone." And then she says, "Well, Cole, about that just being the two of us." And then it hard cuts to them in an SUV full of all of her fucking friends that she drug along. And yes, these are some of the most obnoxious characters I have seen in a horror film in quite some time, and I know that we've talked about this before, but horror went through this phase, and I think this was kind of the pinnacle of it, where they thought that it was good. It was a good thing to make all these characters unlikable. I think that's one of the things that makes like the Friday the 13th remake so hated is because the main characters, once we shift into the main characters, they're all so fucking unlikable. And that is the same thing with these characters are just obnoxious. And I Roger. Okay, so let's talk about one particular character that I want to take a pencil and literally jab it in my ear every time he talks because he
Can I
has
guess? Can I
yeah,
guess it?
yeah.
Is it
It
Skylar?
is Skylar. Has the most annoying fucking voice I have ever heard in my life. I was like, "Oh my god, shut this guy up." And then to find out, I was like, wait, he looks so familiar." And I said, "Oh my gosh, that is the dude from another film we recently covered, or not recently covered, we covered it a couple years ago, but right around this same period because it's a Valentine's themed film, Lover's Lane." He's in
Yes.
Lover's Lane. He's Dougie in Lover's Lane with Anna Faris. He gets almost killed the exact same way in that one. But I don't think he was that annoying in Lover's Lane. What the fuck happened in the years between Lover's Lane and this? Because oh my god, anytime this kid talked, I was turning the volume. Like his voice is so fucking grating.
He's such a stereotype dorky best friend, and that's exactly the kind of role he plays in the films he's in. And that's what he is here. He's like this dorky ski boarder who's a virgin, and he's just like super fucking obnoxious. And I think what you're saying about his voice, I think one of the biggest issues to point out here is I mean, when this film relies on it, which seems to be quite often, this film features some of the worst ADR I have ever heard. Some of the flattest, like, it's so disconnected from the moment, and he gets the worst of it because a lot of times when they're driving or whatever, they're in the vehicle, they're up on the mountain, I'm sure it's windy, a lot of that dialogue has to get dubbed over, but he's also, as if it's not bad enough that he sounds annoying, and we're talking about dated things again, things that really make this film feel a product of the time. All he does is run around with this goddamn fucking camcorder the whole time, and if there's one thing I hate, it's a movie from this era that heavily relied on, like, VHS quality video footage to cut over to for a different perspective. Like, in a pinch, for narrative purposes, I get it. But this film, through a like majority of the movie, it keeps cutting to this handheld camera footage, and not just that, but it's some of the worst looking VHS footage I've ever seen. It's all shaky all over the place. You're not seeing people's faces. You're just seeing blur, static. Like it just why would why would you want to purposely cut away to significantly worse looking footage so often over the course of your film? It's just so unpleasant to look at. And then it's also unpleasant to listen to because, again, this horrible dubbing feels very flat. It just sounds like the actors are just reading off their dialogue. And I mean, their performances at times aren't awful, but whenever you have this dubbing come into play, I don't care how good of an actor that person is, that flat, disconnected dialogue completely kind of sinks their performance. And so this whole driving sequence here is a perfect example of a scene where it just the ADR work just kind of like ruins the moment because it crushes everybody's acting performance.
Yeah. It's an issue. And yes, his annoying camcorder, he hangs out the window, he's narrating everything. He's one of those characters that has to he wants to be a filmmaker apparently, so he's recording everything, he's narrating everything like he's a documentarian. We also meet some other characters. There's probably the most pointless character ever to exist, Kurt, who does have no has nothing to do in this film. Apparently, he's an Olympian or something, and that's all you really know. And then you get, Pike, who we will, I'm sure, talk a lot about here in a minute. And then you get, okay, Robin sitting in the front seat, snuggled up with Kimberly. Um, I will say this film had to have been written and directed by like a frat bro because the lesbianism that is hinted at and on display and joked around about is just permeates this film, and sometimes it becomes problematic, I will say. But yeah, so Robin is like Kimberly's best friend. She's kind of a bitch too. We find out that they're going to this resort because Kimberly's dad or somebody is supposedly interested in buying this condemned property. So they're going there to check it out. Even though I don't know if you paid attention, the story about what her father and his company is doing changes like 5 times throughout this film. I could not keep straight. Were they buying it? Were they trying to make a what are they doing? I don't fucking know. It changes. Uh, because of Skylar messing around, Robin spills some coffee on her. So she demands that they stop. They stop at the gas station. Um, the gals go in, and this is a moment where you get um, uh, Skylar giving Pike his camcorder and telling her to record what goes on in the bathroom. And she's like, "Oh, yeah, you'd love that, wouldn't you, for your YouTube channel?" And when she leaves, Skylar's like, "Oh, yeah, she wants me." And this is the first I mean, Kirk just blurts out, "Oh, man, no, she doesn't. She's a dyke." Dyke, Pike the Dyke. And they're like, "No, she's not." And, yeah, she is. So they all throughout the whole film, everyone thinks that this poor woman is a lesbian. I can see why. I can see why. The haircut's not doing her any favors. Her butch demeanor's not doing her any favors. She's probably the most kick-ass character in the entire film, so I can see why throwing some flannel. Yeah, I buy that she's a lesbian, but this poor girl, everyone fucking thinks she's a lesbian.
Well,
Not that
and
there's
leave it to the
anything wrong.
lesbian to be the most kick-ass character in the film, though. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, it just but the guys joke around about it sometimes, and it really rubs me the wrong way because yeah, you get what I'm
We
saying.
love lesbians here
We
at Dark
do,
Knight of the
and I
Podcast.
was not insinuating that there's anything wrong with being a lesbian, but this girl is not a lesbian, and everyone thinks she is, and they're like, just like treating her like "Oh, you want some pussy?" Or I it's it's really weird, and usually I'm not bothered by that sort of thing because, like I said, this movie's 20 years old, but it starts to become a little bit obnoxious how they use lesbianism in this film as kind of a joke. Do you know what I mean? Especially
Sure.
even at the end of the film, like the film ends on a really, for me, a really bad note. I'm like, come on, really another lesbian joke? It just, yeah. So that's Pike. Um, they go into the bathroom and Robin's trying to get the coffee out of her shirt. It won't come off. And they're just, Pike's playing around with the camcorder saying, "Oh, show your titties, flash your titties." And Kimberly, you should do a striptease for Cole, or are you still dragging him along? And Kimberly's like, "Yeah, why would I have to give it? Why should I have to give anything up? I can just, he's like my little puppy. He'll do whatever I want." And then she makes the comment, "Well, and he's not even really my breed. I want Chad this weekend." And you can see that Pike who is looking on kind of an annoyance, and we do find out, weird, that Pike and Cole end up kind of having a thing together once he finds out she's not really a lesbian. Let's be clear, but yeah, there. So obviously, I'm making inferences based on like Pike's reaction that she's always maybe had a crush on Cole, and like Kimberly's her cousin. We need to mention that, so she knows what a horrible bitch Kimberly is, and it's like eating away at her. Um, so I guess there's that sort of a little bit of character development that's kind of brought into the film that you can kind of latch on and make inferences about, but that's really all you're getting from these characters.
It's thin. It's thin and it's often unlikable. Yeah, the lesbian jokes did not sit well with me either. And it's that they keep coming up. They call her our carpet muncher. Like, there's a time not long after this film where like I think you could have incorporated a lesbian character and have them be part of the group and have them be comfortably a lesbian and be like, "Oh, she's also the best snowboarder there is because she's a fucking lesbian and she's a badass." Like I feel like this film was right on the cusp of a big shift of things happening within media in which queer culture started to become more prevalent and like seen from a different perspective, a more positive perspective. And so yeah, that also makes it feel extremely dated yet again. One moment, I'm gonna cough. Some of the characters that I think are a little more interesting are unfortunately the ones that get less focus. So the character of Kurt, when they explain like his subplot, like there's something there that actually feels like kind of relevant and unique to the story. Like he's a competitive snowboarder, this guy Chad, who's supposed to be showing up. You find about this, like they have this rivalry and like as soon as Kurt finds out this guy's coming, he instantly like gets all like in his head about it. Like I'm more interested in that and like seeing that story develop. Maybe that guy could have been the killer. I don't know. Like I think there's something that they could have done with this story that would have been so much more interesting and involved all of the characters, but the way they structure it, there's certain characters that are important and the rest are just fodder. And so, like, this character of Robin, spelled the same as the Swedish songstress, Robyn, who we got to give her credit where credit is due, also very circa late 90s, 2000. So that makes sense. But Robin, um, she's there to be slutty with anyone. Like literally, like talk about lesbian. Robin's trying to fuck everybody. And then there's this weird bit where Pike is standing there with that camera, and she's like, "Oh, make a video for him. He'll love it." And they start like dancing around, and she's in her pink bra with her tiny little boobies. Like we love little niplets here at Dark Knight of the Podcast. Like one thing I think Troy and I really love is small, tiny
Well,
breasts
I
because
don't.
they keep coming up.
Oh no, I don't think that's true, Roger. I should show our audience what you send me every fucking day, 12 times a day. I don't know where you're finding these pictures, what your Instagram algorithm is, but I get
Oh my
every day.
god!
I get I get
Ah,
jugs like massive.
ah.
I don't know where Roger's finding these women, but I love
Ah,
it.
they come to me like dreams in the night, man. But yeah, like it's so weird. Even this bit where like for like an elongated period of time, they're all like dancing on each other and everything. And I don't know. I just don't know where this is going. Like it doesn't seem like any of these characters have any purpose other than just fit like checking a certain box. Like Robin is just there for the obligatory sex scenes, for being slutty, doesn't bring anything else to the storyline, and when they need to kill her off, they kill her off. So yeah, I think that a lot of the characters here suffer from really bad writing. Really, really bad writing. I think the only one that has good writing is honestly Pike, and it's weird that they shit on her and like call her a lesbian like it's a bad thing. And then she ends up being probably the most capable and interesting character of the whole group. I don't know. It's not like she doesn't have any flaws, so they created this flaw in her, and it's just so unnecessary because really, like, she is the final girl. She doesn't really get to have the big final moment until she shows up last minute. I'm going to say it now, but from like a structural standpoint, I feel like Pike should be looked at as the final girl. She's sure as hell capable enough to
She
be the final girl.
well, she is, but I have a big problem with her popping up at the end because for me, she was clearly dead. But we'll get there. We will get there.
We will.
So
Yeah.
yes, the 3 girls, they have some shenanigans in the bathroom, and when they exit the bathroom, they run into my favorite part of the movie. I mean, if I'm gonna give this movie any credit, it's right here, Christoph. But I
Is it
love
his accent
it
as well? Are
oh,
you
I
gonna give
you
him credit for his
I
accent?
love a blonde, I'm a sucker for a hot blonde, and he
I
definitely
know it.
he fits the bill. Yes, and he has that accent, and he, is very charming, and the 2 girls, Robin and Kimberly, are immediately, like, smitten with him, especially Robin, because there's that moment where it starts to sprinkle, and he tells Robin, "Oh, you're getting all wet," and she says, "You can tell?" And then they take him back to the vehicle, and they make Cole drive him to where they're going. Kind of a odd choice. You're just gonna meet this guy and like, "Oh, let's go back to our cabin that I either my father's buying, or we're checking out, or who knows, but we're gonna go. And when we get there, guess what? We can't even get in because my dad's not really buying it, and he hasn't bought it yet, and it's still locked up. So we have to get through this locked gate. And you get the moment where they all get out of the truck. Most of them can squeeze through the gate with their snowboard, so they hit the trails, while poor Cole sits there for what seems like 10 minutes fiddling with this chain, trying to get it unlocked. He tries everything, Roger. He tries
Blow
everything.
torches it?
Blow torches. He's trying to, and fucking Kimberly's just sitting in that driver's seat doing her nails, just like scowling at him until he finally gets it open.
First, I wanna acknowledge with Christoph, right away, right off the bat, there's something suspicious about Christoph. Is it his strange accent? Yes. The accent feels a bit forced. Is it the fact that when they ask him where he's from, he says Europe, which is very broad? I mean, like Europe could be a lot of places, but there's definitely something suspicious about Christoph. And so they just bring him along. And so, okay, that's fine. Once you get to the mountain where they're going through the gate, everyone starts snowboarding. I like Kurt because he's smoking weed, like myself. He's a ginger. We're here for a ginger. But it's the soundtrack that I want to acknowledge right now. Because one other thing about this film that makes it feel horribly dated is that it consists of a soundtrack that is predominantly like punk, like scream punk rock, like light pop rock, I guess. I don't even know. It's like shrieking punk music, and like some of the lyrics are really weird. Like at one point there's a song that's like kill me now, but it's like upbeat. Like it's a weird choice for a slasher. And the only reason it works here is because it does feel, again, very nostalgic, very of this era. Like, this is exactly the kind of music that came out during this time and probably this time alone, really. Like, this music represents a very specific time in the 2000s. I don't find it pleasant to listen to at all. No offense to those of you who like this genre of scream punk rock, but I do feel like it's something that, like, make sense if you're gonna put this into any obscure horror subgenre or slasher, like, associated with, I don't know, a sport, like, it might as well be one about fucking snowboarding because this music feels very appropriate with what they're doing and when they're doing it. Like, this was very popular during the early 2000s. This is the kind of music I associated with these video games. This is the kind of music they would play during all of these snow-related competitions. What is it that snowboarders do? There's some big thing where they all go and they all snowboard. It's like a it's like a festival or something. I don't know. Maybe if you're a listener, you could tell me. I remember that happening and people liked it. They talked about it on MTV, but this music was always very, very present and very prevalent. And so I think that even though I can't stand the music, like, I'm not necessarily looking at it as a bad aspect of the film. I just don't like listening to it. It's not my type of music, but it does fit this era and this strange subgenre that we're watching, which is snowboarding related killers.
Well, yeah, and it's played generally during montages of them, like, snowboarding down the hills and stuff like that, so it does I guess it does make sense, but it is pretty I think it's pretty bad, actually, the music. Um, but Kristoff on the way down the hill, kind of another little sign that there's something off with him because he has a vision of, like, a little girl standing on the hill, and he causes him to, like, crash and fall, and they have to go over and help him. Um they again, Kimberly and Cole, they get the gate open. They actually pull up to the big lodge. He gets out. Cole gets out, tries to get into the lodge, and is kind of pushing on the door. When all of a sudden the door opens, causing him to fall backward. And it is Pike. She's already got. Look how handy this lesbian is. She already got in with her credit card. She has a credit card. She's like, look, never leave home without it. They're giving her all these like butch lesbian qualities. Um, they should have just let her be a lesbian. Let her be a lesbian. It's what she wanted. Um, so yeah, so then you get um them unloading the truck and Skylar with his fucking annoying voice talking about a girl he saw skiing down the hill and he was saying like she's hot. Roger, how can you tell she's hot when she is literally head to toe covered? I mean, it's literally she's wearing a pink snowsuit, a helmet, but he's like, "Oh my god, she's so fucking hot. Fuck, she's spank worthy. She's so fucking hot." How do you know? That could have been the homeliest thing you've ever seen in your life. But I guess he's so fucking horny because he's a virgin that the fact that it's just a female has him fucking ready to bust, I guess.
I also have a question here, and I want to get your feedback on this because this is something, and this is where the film does a really bad job of, like, I think, explaining what is the final revelation. There's certainly not enough like backstory provided. Like, I think you're supposed to just piece it together as to what exactly is going on. So you've got Christoph, he's snowboarding, he has these visions, which are very exaggerated and really don't have much of a payoff. Like the visions themselves, like it almost seems supernatural. But he has this vision, he collapses, and he's being pursued. Is he not being pursued by the skier in all black? Correct? The
Is
skier
I
in all
think there is
black?
a moment where you see, yes, the skier follow him. There's several moments where that if you're really paying attention, that skier is, like, lurking and following, and yeah, yeah.
And then you see Shelley skiing in all pink. And from a distance, Skylar sees her and immediately thinks she's hot. Okay. But with the final reveal and what I'm supposed to understand here is, and I have to ask now because it's
Yeah.
gonna come out
Go
at
for
the
it.
end of this.
Yeah.
Is Shelley is the killer,
That's
really.
yes.
Shelley is the killer.
That's
Her father is he actively says he hasn't killed or hurt
and I
anybody.
no, he yeah, the father's just trying to scare them off the mountain. Shelly's the one that's actually doing the killing. So it does kind of make sense that there's 2 of them, kind of sporadically throughout the film. When we first see Shelly, she's wearing the pink, but I think at some point they're both kind of costumed in the black. So it makes sense that when you talked about them like being able to teleport. I do think there are moments where both of them are out on the slopes. I don't know that the father knows that Shelly is doing this killing. I don't think he knows
Right.
that. I think he thinks
Sure.
he's just out there trying to scare these people off. That's my interpretation of it.
Got it. Because it gets really convoluted. It's hard to pinpoint the differentiation between Shelley and her father, who's in the costume, when. Um, that ends up being the reveal who the killer is, listeners. Let's just be clear. But it's one of my biggest gripes is really how this film ends up revealing this fact that these two are involved. That it's not very clear who's actually doing what. If they're working together, it sounds like they're not. I don't think that he's working with her.
I don't think so either. I don't like I said, I don't think he knows that she's killing, and here's the other thing, like, the whole backstory about why they're killing, we never see that, and it gets real that gets convoluted because at one second, it's the little girl that was killed, but then also later you hear that his wife was killed too. I'm like, "Wait, what? We didn't even see that." It's so convoluted. I think they really needed to just take a step back and give us a much more streamlined, motive, because this motive
Right.
is all over the place, and you're right, like, at one moment you do think it's a dad, but then it's yeah, it is way too convoluted for what it is. Yeah, I know, and I think that's another problem. So as they're unloading the truck, they realize that they have no beer. So they need to make a beer run. The only person that wants to go back to town with Cole is Skylar. So they head back to this like, dive bar. That's kind of the only place in town that's open. Um, they pay Roger, this was 2003, they p $96 for beer, that's a lot, they must have got a shitload of beer, 96 bucks, like, 'cause that's what he pays, he gives him the credit card, and the gentleman there, who ends up being, the father at the end of the film, says that he really hopes that I really hope you guys aren't going to Rocky Summit because it is dangerous. They tell him, "Oh, no, absolutely not, we're staying with some friends, we're fine." He's like, "Good, because the legend is it's haunted. So I need you to stay away from it. It's dangerous and evil." And like as Skylar's filming around, you see all these like weird townsfolk just like staring at them and giving them dirty looks, including the blonde who ends up being Shelley, which he somehow recognizes that that's the girl that was on the slopes. How? How? She had a helmet on. Like, how does he know that
She
that's her? Because when they leave, he's like, "Oh man, that's her. That was her. See how fucking hot she is." How would you didn't see her face? She was wearing a fucking helmet and goggles. Please explain this to me. It's driving me fucking nuts.
Listeners, I think you're gonna think that Troy and I are so, like, marble-mouthed with this episode, but the problem here is there are so many things that come up over the course of Shredder that make me scratch my head and just think, like, "How is this happening?" And, like, you're absolutely right, Troy, like, this right here is one of those moments, like, I thought the same thing. How the fuck does he even know this is that same chick? How does he know it? There's no way you would not be able to tell. We do have to acknowledge that big snow machine that they passed earlier on the road. There's that guy driving that big old ice cutter, whatever
Yeah.
the fuck that thing is. That's parked there at the bar. That guy's in the bar, giving nasty looks, recognizes their vehicle, has this startle moment where he turns the machine on right beside the vehicle. You definitely know this thing is coming back into play. It's a creepy looking piece of machinery. Obviously, it's meant to get like through the roads, like to cut through really big massive piles of snow, like this thing is there to serve a very specific purpose in that area. But this guy doesn't have a single fucking line. Like he's a red herring for sure. But yeah, this whole moment with Shelly is like it's so weird. And then she does that thing where she like kisses towards the camera. And again, and the fact that these characters have no real purpose other than just coming in to move the story along. But other than that, they're not fully rationalized characters. She's there. This guy's filming her with a fucking camera. Like it's super fucking uncomfortable. And her first instinct is to like make a kissy face at this Skylar who she doesn't know, who she's never interacted with, nothing. And it's just like this just feels so like unnatural. Like none of these moments feel like they have any real motivation or interaction. Like bringing these characters together just seems so forced. Yeah, I don't know. Like I don't really have an issue with Shelley. It's just like her character is literally in like a handful of scenes. And other than that, like I couldn't tell you a thing about this gal. I know nothing about her.
Well, they get back to the house, and we get a montage of them playing some drinking games and doing the girls doing little slutty things like Pike removing her bra without taking off her shirt. And Kimberly one-ups her by Roger taking off her fucking panties through her pants. I'm like, "How the hell did you do that, girl?" And she's, like, throwing them around. The best part about this whole fucking scene is Kristoff is shirtless the whole time, wearing those, gray, jogging pants, leaving nothing to the imagination. I'm happy about that. Suddenly, there's a knock on the door, and they go to answer it, and it's this fucking dumpy sheriff. He's not happy. He tells them they're trespassing, and he has to take them in, and Kimberly's like, "Oh, we own this place." Well, they don't, and that's the thing is, like, we find out they're not even close to owning this place. She literally brought all of her friends here, then they literally could be arrested for trespassing because her parents or her dad does not own this place. The sheriff's like, "Oh, that's fine and dandy, but I'm still gonna need to take you in." Robin immediately starts, like, flirting with the sheriff, like, rubbing her tits all over him, and then Kimberly joins in, and, he's like, I'm sorry, you gotta go, it's not safe here, the murders were never solved," and then Cole comes over, and Cole's like, Sir, it's fine, we'll leave first thing in the morning," and gives him, like, a $100 bill or whatever it is, and of course, because why not? This small town sheriff is easily duped by being given money and horny broads rubbing all over him because he tells them that they can stay until morning, but he better not see them on their snowboards and he better not see them on the mountain and they need to leave first thing in the morning because again, it's dangerous, he tells them.
We've seen this sheriff bit in so many other
Oh,
films.
yes.
Same fucking setup. Random sheriff or police officer shows up. He's there for a few moments to drop some exposition. He mentions the murders. He's in as he's out. He's there for head count, but fucking why bother? Because really, like, his kill is pretty late. It's coming up in a moment. But yeah, I mean, again, Robin, she's just there to be slutty. Instantly, she starts flirting with the guy. Obviously, they're trying to get him out of the place. It's very easy. They're able to convince this old dude to leave, and he's gone. And that's all it is. Like it just it's this brief moment. This character serves zero purpose. It's not like he gets back and calls something in. It's not like he has some like secondary plot line. Like he's just there. He's there on screen for like a minute and a half, and he's gone. Um, Speaking of dated tropes, did you notice during this conversation they have that 70s show bit where the camera's turning on the lazy Susan? Like, here's another thing that feels just very dated and of that era. So yeah, just these little details that all of these things feel like, oh, this was popular, or this is popular right now in 2000, 2001. So let's capitalize on this. This is popular. Snowboarding's popular. Punk rock is popular. That 70s show is popular. We're going to take all these little things from all these other things that exist and make it a slasher, and it just feels very uninspired.
Yeah. Well, the sheriff leaves and the group asks Kimberly what he was talking about with the murders. The group is like, "Are we even safe here?" And she's like, "Well, yeah." But she proceeds to tell them the story, how she knows this. I guess maybe her dad told her, but she's like, "Yeah, a long time ago, there were some drunken snowboarders and they harassed this little girl and ultimately killed her. And then the cops went to arrest the people that did it, but they vanished. Um, so they assumed that they were murdered." What I I like a good flashback, but this is the worst flashback in cinema history. Like, it is like, you don't really see anything that happens. Like, I don't even know what happened to, like, the other friends. I know that supposedly they must have been killed because we find their bodies later on in the film, but this flashback of Roger shows literally nothing. And they make it this big whole thing, but literally nothing is shown. It's so confusing and jarring, and I don't know what's going on, and you don't even see really what happened to the little girl. I don't. Yeah, this does not work for me at all.
So, a few things. First of all, the flashbacks and the visions always feel very supernatural. And even when he's like, "Oh, and these three snowboarders, they disappeared." Like, it looks like they, like, fade away, and it looks almost like they literally disappeared, like they were specters or something, which is not the case. There's nothing supernatural at all about this. Um, Also, there's this whole, like, underlying not I guess plot point to a certain extent, but they keep bringing up that there's this skier's responsibility code. And so atop like all of this discussion of like the girl who died, but also like we learn about the bartender's wife who also died. And then also the killer like has like an issue with people just not following the rules. If you don't follow the responsibility code, the killer's gonna kill you. Pick a fucking lane, Shredder. Like, pick a lane. What is it the killer is pissed about, and why is he killing? Is it because the killer is mad that they don't follow the rules? Is it because he's mad that his wife died, or is it mad that the fucking girl died? What I'm what I'm assuming is, so Bud has his own incident. The wife died because of this whole mishap. But then in a separate scenario, Shelly, I believe, is the sister of the little girl who died. So I guess both people died. I think both. Like not only did the wife die, but also the little girl died. I'm just very confused. I'm very confused. I don't even know where to go from this point. Like honestly, I really don't know what the fuck happened. And then we find out Kristoff is involved with all of it,
Ye
and he keeps having these fucking visions. It's just it's not coherent. It's not coming through. The story they're wanting to tell, you're just getting like patchwork of it. You're getting little bits and pieces, but it's not enough to weave this all together and build to a coherent conclusion. And it just makes me so mad.
Yeah, it's a mess, it's a mess, and nothing like I said, nothing is they make it way more complicated than it needs to be, like this yeah, and Kristoff is saying, "Oh, legend has it the little girl still haunts the slopes," and suddenly Robin screams, and she says she sees somebody outside. Cole tries to get the other guys to go with him to check it out, but nobody will except brave Burly Pike. She's gonna go join him to look for whatever intruder this is. And, as they're out walking out in the night in this abandoned area, she does see, like, the big power shed, and he says to her, "You have more balls than I do, but I guess that's to be expected with your type." She's like, what are you talking about?"
Fuck off.
She's like
Fuck off, dude. Like, what? How are you gonna say that to me?
she's like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Oh, don't worry about it. I'm cool with your lifestyle." And she's like, "My lifestyle? What?" He's like, "I like chicks too." She's like, "Oh, wait, do you think I'm a lesbian?" He's like, "Yeah, Pike the Dyke. Pike rhymes with Dyke." And she's like, yeah, Cole rhymes with asshole." And she walks away. And yeah, I mean, what? And then they do go to the shed. But you know what? I do like the fact that, I mean, yes, he's saying horribly inappropriate things to her about being a lesbian, but also they really do seem to have a good relationship together. A good friends, they can joke around with each other and things like that. I really wish I would have liked to have known their relationship before this whole trip. Were they friends? Had they known each other? You kind of get the impression they do, but their whole bond and connection through the film is kind of one of the more interesting parts of the film. And I guess I'm glad they sort of allow it to go there. Although on one hand, I wish they could have just made her a lesbian because that would have been even more groundbreaking to have, a character that everyone's cool with. But she goes in and they actually are able to go down to the shed and turn on all the electricity. And even the ski lifts turn on, and you get some deja vu with the film we watched last week because you see all the ski lifts moving up the slopes, and it's very isolated. And I'm like, oh, this is Frozen vibes.
It is very Frozen vibes, absolutely. And you do see while this is all unfolding, you do see that the killer is watching. He's kind of always looming, passing by the camera and so forth and so on. But you do get this bit here as everyone goes back and goes to sleep that the killer starts fucking with some of their boards. And I gotta say, there has to be some product placement for these snowboards because there is a lot of focus on the boards. Like it makes sense. They're all snowboarding, but you get a lot of close ups. There was that one scene earlier by the truck where the guys talked about snowboards for fucking like 20 minutes, or maybe that is coming up already. I really don't remember. But there's this whole bit where they're talking about all these different brands of boards. I don't give a fuck about any of this information. I don't care. I'm here to see a slasher. But yeah, so the boards, definitely some product placement. What about this matronly nightgown that Kimberly sleeps in before she changes for that silken number? Um, what the fuck is that? That big frumpy gown? Did you see that thing she's wearing?
Yeah, I would assume she wants to be warm because she seems like a diva that bitches about everything, but yeah, but that night, yeah, so after they turn on that night, the group, they're all sleeping in various spots, and Robin is sleeping with Pike and wakes her up and starts rubbing all over her and says to Pike, "I'm not gay, I'm just horny." And Pike's like, "Oh, well, you're not my type." What? Very weird, very weird. Outside, the masked skier guy is messing with shit. I think this is the moment that he breaks Cole's snowboard, which comes into play later. Kimberly, this bitch, sneaks out of bed next to Cole. She's sleeping with Cole because remember, Cole's supposed to be your boyfriend, right? And she puts on that red sexy fucking nightie, and she's wandering through the house looking for some Kristoff dick. I don't blame her, but this bitch has some balls. Like, her boyfriend is right there, and she is doing this, like, right under his nose. Remember, first she wanted to fuck Chad, now she wants to fuck Kristoff. Um, Kristoff is, like, hiding from her in, like, bathroom, like, he hears her and he, like, hides from her. Sheriff dude is still outside. What the fuck is he still doing around? It's been hours. This group has been in bed for hours. He's still lurking around. And as he's walking around the fucking house, he runs right into the masked killer, who, before he can do anything, shoves that screwdriver in his face, killing the sheriff.
I mean, you don't fucking see shit, let's be clear. You just see the fucking screwdriver and then you see his feet go back and the light drop. The killer dispatches him very quickly, and the sheriff is clearly only there because they really need somebody to die at this point. Like, it's been a while. It's been probably like 25, 30 minutes since somebody has died at the beginning of the film. Am I right in
Oh,
saying that?
yeah, yeah,
It's been
nobody.
a long time.
Uh-huh.
So it's dragging ass. Like, this is really starting to drag. And so the reason the sheriff was even brought in was to have head count. Like when I said earlier that he serves zero purpose, at least sometimes you can bring in a day player and they move the story along a little bit. This guy, forget about it. Never comes back into play aside from when they find his body, which is kind of a fun gag, but whatever. I like that in the midst of this whole Scooby Doo like moment of people going running around the house looking for each other, trying to fuck. This is like Scooby Doo for adults. You got Kimberly hunting for Kristoff. Kristoff is off doing his own thing after having more visions about that girl. So he's like sneaking around with a flashlight, looking very suspicious. And then Robin gets up and she's trying to hunt people so she can fuck them. I think she's literally just going to fuck anybody she finds. So she finds Kristoff, and she and Kristoff end up just fucking going to town. He ends up railing the fuck out of her. Good for him. And I like that there's this moment where Kimberly walks in, obviously hunting for Kristoff, and she sees it happening, and she's like, you know what? Good for you, girl. Good for you. Like, Kimberly's a bitch, but she can't be hating on Robin. Robin got to that dick first. And so Robin sure makes the best out of it, showing off her little niplets. He grabs on her little fanny. They really go to town, and Kimberly seems okay with it. She didn't get the dick that time. She does not have an issue with sloppy seconds. Let's be clear.
No, but why doesn't she want Cole's dick? Like, he's a good-looking guy. What is it about Cole that she's like she wants to fuck Kristoff, but not Cole? Girl, he probably has I don't know, he's a tall, he probably has a bigger dick. We'll go for Cole. What is your deal with not wanting to fuck Cole? I th
Maybe she's an ass man
Maybe.
like
Oh,
us.
well, let's look at
We
yeah,
we
well,
see it
we're
later.
getting there. Um, yeah, so the next morning, there's yeah, that we get that shot of that snowman that's out in the yard now, and Kimberly comes downstairs and demands that Cole makes her some eggs, but not too runny, she says. And this is when Pike does make the comment, "Well, goddamn, she must be the greatest fuck of all time, because I don't know how anybody could put up with her for so long." Like she must have something that's attracting you. Skylar and Kirk are ready to hit the slopes. Skylar even shouts out, "We're gonna shred until we're dead," he says. And they get on the ski lift and they just have some ramblings back and forth while they're smoking pot. And they do talk about this. You brought this up earlier about how Kirk would be on top. He would be the number one snowboarder in the world and on his way to the Olympics if it wasn't for Chad. He's like, "Can you imagine if Chad did actually die? You'd be number one, dude." And Kirk, gotta give him credit. We saw what happens when you jump off a fucking ski lift last week. Kirk doesn't have that problem, Roger. He jumps off this fucking ski lift and lands right on his snowboard, and he's able to zoom down that fucking mountain, indie rock music playing and all.
I mean, it looks very, exciting, I suppose, if you enjoy winter sports. He's going down the mountainside quickly, as you do, and he's rather capable, and this is another reason I feel that Kurt should have been more of a focal character, because he seems like out of everybody, he seems like the most talented snowboarder. He seems to have a certain knowledge or skill set when it comes to this being the hobby of choice that this film is going to focus on. And it just seems like they were really setting up this animosity between him and Chad that was going to go somewhere that means nothing. So, thus, Kurt's character really hath no purpose, which is a shame because I find him somewhat attractive. I'm going to be honest about that. But this is the song. As he's skiing, or I'm sorry, he's sledding, and what's it? But this is the song. As he's snowboarding, this punk rock song comes on, and the lyrics are literally, "Somebody kill me, put me out of my misery. Somebody kill me, please kill me." And I'm like, that's, I mean, it's hitting the nail on the head
It's
if that's what
foreshadowing.
the movie's going to offer, but
For
it's very aggressive.
Oh yeah, but it's foreshadowing, especially for his character. Um, the rest of the group are getting ready to snowboard, except Kimberly because she's in skis. And they're like, "Kimberly, when are you gonna join the rest of us to snowboard?" She's like, I don't like snowboarding. Snowboarding ruined the fashion of skiing. You can wear cuter clothes when you ski." And she's wearing those like black leggings, and everyone else is in like giant snow suits. She even makes a comment about how big Pike's ass looks in her snowsuit. Kristoff offers to teach her how to snowboard, and Cole interjects and's like, "No, no, no, I can do it. I told you I would do it." And then this is like this fucking bitch. She's like, "Kristoff has a technique that you just can't compete with." And he's like, "No, seriously, I can teach you. We should stick together in case you get hurt." And she like throws her radio at him and she's like, "Well, maybe I'll call you." At this point, I would have been like, "Bitch, fuck yourself. You're not putting out. You're a fucking cunt. I'm done with you." But he seems to still be infatuated with her.
She's horrible to him. Horrible. No excuse for it. Meanwhile, Kurt comes upon that sort of like mine structure, I guess. What the fuck is even this building? It's never explained, but I'm guessing it must be some sort of mine because he comes across it, and this is just out of fucking nowhere. And he walks up to this thing and he opens this door and he seems to like have a reaction to be surprised what's inside. And then you've got this whole bit of him turning, and this is building up to what is like the first, I guess, major kill of the inner circle of friends. And yeah, I don't know. I just feel like I was really anticipating Kirk to go somewhere. And all of a sudden you have this moment where he's just killed with this like kind of like underlying tone of humor that carries through the whole thing as he's like talking about bad karma and flicking off the killer. And it just tonally, this scene doesn't work for me. It's not that the kill doesn't look good, like the ice pick that's used to stab through his torso. He dies via ice pick, fitting. It's a winter themed film. Ice pick goes through his torso, looks fine, but there's just something about this that for like the first major kill, I was really expecting something big, especially for that initial opening kill with that random snowboarder that got his throat cut. I was expecting something huge, and you don't really get it with this. And that continues to be a trend. This film, the kills kind of only get worse as it goes on.
This yeah, and it happened so quickly. I was kind of in your boat where I was like, "Wait, this is the first character from our friend group that we've been following the whole time to get killed," and I expected it to be a little bit more of a spectacle. And it's actually a giant icicle that he breaks off and, shoves through Kurt, and then when Kurt falls to the ground, comes out of his back. And then you see the killer chopping hacking his snowboard with the axe as Kurt's laying there dying, but that's it, and he makes that karma bad when he before he falls over. I wanted something a lot more bigger and just like more there's no chase, there's no nothing. It just happens within a split second, it's over. He's dead. That's it. That's our first major character to get killed. So you do get this kind of lighthearted moment between Cole and Pike where they're boarding and Cole crashes and Pike rushes over to him and she thinks he's hurt. He's laying there motionless and like she bends down to listen for his pulse and he grabs her and throws her on the ground. And, they obviously these two are starting to become a little bit more physical with each other. And you can definitely tell there's something brewing between the two of them. And in fact, they have like his board broke because remember the killer tampered with it earlier in the film, so now they have to share a board. So you get these moments where they're on this board together and they're falling and just laughing with each other. And now we get Robin getting on this ski lift. She gets on the ski lift. Suddenly, this dark figured skier hops on the ski lift with her. And she seems fine with it at first. She tries to engage with him and is like, "Oh, I didn't know anyone was up here." And he ignores her and she thinks it's because they're snowboarders. And she's like, Dude, you need to calm down because snowboarders are the future." And then like he aggressively starts pointing to this sign that says skier rule number one, always ski in control. She's like, "Those are skier rules, asshole. We make our own rules. You better get used to it." And then he grabs her, is shaking her violently. And somehow she's able to grab him and throw him off of the chair. And as he falls to the ground, she's like, "I don't ski, I shred." And I was like, wait, I don't know, because the problem is, and I don't know if this again, I don't know who this is. Is this the dad or is this Shelly? I'm assuming it's the dad because he looks much more imposing than Robin. Because I have to keep in mind, Robin's a petite little thing with petite little titties. I feel like this man could have easily thrown her off of this chair, but Robin has no problem launching this man. I'm assuming it's the father, launching him off of the fucking ski lift chair.
I'm thinking it has to be Bud. I think that's his
But yeah.
name, Bud. But mm, the thing that contradicts that is when Robin starts giving him sass and attitude, he physically attacks her on the chair, and she's forced to throw him from the chair. And it's stated later that he never hurt anyone or intended to hurt anybody. So to me, I mean, it feels like it would have to be Shelley, but that's not at all possible because Shelley comes gliding onto the scene and now in a powder blue ensemble. Like the timing, there's just no way it could be the father. But what he does here goes completely against what he states
Well,
later in the film.
he says he never killed anybody, were his words. I think, like, shaking somebody, he's trying to he does say, I was trying to scare you guys so you would leave." So, I'm assuming it, Roger, if I was on a ski lift and some random dude just started shaking the fuck out of me and I would probably be like, "We're getting the fuck out of here." I don't think that his intention necessarily was to kill her. He was physically trying to, yeah, be aggressive, but I think, again, it goes back to what he was saying. I was trying to scare you guys so you guys would leave. But she throws him off. It doesn't matter. She throws him off. We cut to, yes, Skylar getting the attention of Shelly coming down, and they introduce themselves to each other. And he offers to teach her snowboarding, and she declines. And she says it's not her thing. Back to Robin. She's on the ski lift. I don't know how the fuck this happens. I tried to figure this out. And the balls of this movie, okay? The balls this movie has to do this. I'm gonna put it out there. The killer does not kill Robin. Robin basically kills herself on accident. She goes to get off the ski lift and her scarf has gotten wrapped around the pole, and it literally strangles her and lifts her body up. So you get this whole, and this was one of the visions. Remember, I told you last week when you said this, you watched this movie, or when you picked this movie, I was like, I remember two things from it: the body hanging from the ski lift the entire film, because literally the rest of the film we see Robin's body hanging from her scarf on the ski lift as it's going up and down the hill. I totally forgot, Roger, that the killer has nothing to do with Robin's death. It's an accident, like, she does it herself.
It feels like, in a way, like it's almost implied that the killer, like, sets it up. When they struggle, the killer grabs at her and he's shaking her, and that's what causes the scarf to get caught. You could almost argue, like, did the killer do that
No,
intentionally? But
I watched
it
it.
really is just an
I I
accident.
I watched this, trust me, listeners, I watched this scene multiple times to see if I ever saw the killer grab her scarf and wrap it around the pole, and he never does. It's the fact that when she's trying to get off of the ski lift, she sees that sign that says, "Lift up your feet," and she's like, "Oh, shit," and she gets distracted, and she jerks, gets distracted, and that's how her scarf gets wrapped around the thing. She kills herself. I mean, it's an accident, but I'm like, how do you have a slasher movie with an obnoxious character like this, and you don't let the killer her? You have her die in an accident? I love the visual aspect of the aftermath of the body hanging from the ski lift, but this is such a huge fucking cop out for a death.
It is. It is. It does provide a comedic element. Like, there's one moment later where two of the characters are sitting having a conversation and she just floats by in the background and she gets caught at one point. She keeps going. It's a fun visual. It's probably one of the most striking aspects of the film when you think about the fact that you just keep seeing her. It's kind of eerie, her just floating along like that. But yeah, it's a bummer because also the character, like, and not to say I want it to go into trope territory, but like, you know, this character has served one purpose and it's to be the slutty character. And this death feels like it would be appropriate for like somebody else. Like I don't know, Skylar or something like that. I Somebody else in the storyline. For her, I would picture she go out in some way that's sluttier. Don't have the slutty girl die covered in layers of clothing hanging from this chairlift by her scarf. It just seems like such a random moment that they had to kill somebody and they're like, "Oh, well, who can we off now? Let's just make it Robin. We don't need her character anymore. She's served her purpose. She's done now."
I realize, Roger, there are two things I hate in a slasher movie. You know the first one, guns. Now, what I hate in a slasher movie is a slasher movie where a character dies of their own will and not the killer, like it just happens upon an act. There are some fun movies that use that trope, like Tucker and Dale versus Evil. I Didn't Come Here to Die. I love those films, but a film that is a straight up slasher film with a killer going around killing people, and you're going to have this character, a prominent character, literally die from an accident, not even an accident that the killer set up. I know you hinted at that, but that is not what happens. I implore you to watch it over. It is not what happens.
And I know that's not what happened. And I was more trying to set up, but like in my watching it as well, I acknowledge this is a very awkward scene. And I was like, maybe I'm missing something here. I was trying to think, am I missing? Is there something that I'm not picking up on? I rewatched the scene like 4 times, and I had the same conclusion you did. The killer has no impact on the death at all. And it is highly disappointing that this girl goes out looking like a fucking idiot too. As she starts to get off, the thing just keeps going, and she's like, "Oh, wait! And then she's screaming for help. Nobody can hear her. Apparently, nobody sees her body dangling for the next 24 hours.
But then, okay, so this whole thing with Shelly and Skylar, what is the point? What is her, if she wants to kill these people, so why pretend to be, she's already killed Kirk, so why is she all of a sudden, like, trying to act like she's a nice, normal person with Skylar? She could have or should have just skied down, found him on the slope, and killed him. But no, we have this whole thing where they're getting buddy-buddy, they get on the ski lift together. She's talking about how her dad hates snowboarders, but she, she likes to see other people up on the mountain, and then there's that moment where she's unbuttoning her or zipping down her snowsuit, and she's like, "Oh, I get so hot." And then she literally grabs his hand, takes his glove off, puts it on her breast, and she's like, "Do you like how that feels? Does that feel warm?" And they start making out. What is the point? She supposedly hates these people and she wants to kill them, but she's gonna take a moment to fucking make out with one on a fucking ski lift.
And out of all the guys, it's gonna be this fucker, this potato, Skylar, with his goddamn fucking camera. She does that bit where she, like, opens her jacket and she, like, shows him the, like, basically down her shirt. It just, like, it's so awkward. And, like, if this would have come back into play, okay, that's fine. Like, if this would have carried through as a consistent with her character, but the fact of the matter is she never interacts with Skylar again. They never have another moment. This relationship that they're forming doesn't come back into play. It's just, yeah, it's so weird. It was really, I think, just they needed to give her another moment so that when the reveal happened, we the viewer knew who she was. Because aside from that moment in the bar, like, she's a blink and you'll miss her cameo in the bar. So they needed to have something else to establish who this character is, but it feels so very forced.
Yeah. Well, they get off the ski lift, and before they can do anything else, Bud, her dad, is there and yells at her to get her ass home, and then tells Skylar to you better get you and your friends off the mountain, and you better stay away from my daughter. I mean, they're definitely not being shy about painting him toward as a the villain, right? I mean, I think that's what you're supposed to expect at this point. You get Pike radioing Kimberly, and Kimberly answers and says she's on the mountain and that she's pissed because Kristoff ditched her. And this is the moment where Cole and Pike are sitting there eating their lunch, and you see Kimberly or you see Robin's body hanging on the thing behind them, and it's that moment where it hits the ground and it keeps going, and they're totally oblivious to it. Kristoff shows up to Kimberly, and Kimberly's like, "Where have you been?" And Cole's like, "Hey, you want to come back? Do I need to come up and get you?" And she's like, "No, somebody came to rescue me." Skylar joins Pike and Cole, and to tell them that he finally met the female skier. She's totally into him. She made out with him. Just then, he notices that fucking snowman. He's like, "Look at that fucking snowman over there. There's something sticking out of it." And there is a human hand sticking out of the snowman. Pike thinks it's fake, so they go over and she kicks it, and it is revealed that underneath the snowman is the sheriff. That fucking screwdriver in his blue head because he's frozen now. Uh, they freak out. Cole immediately suspects that Kristoff is the killer. And he's like, "We need to find Kimberly. I knew that fucker was dangerous. We need to get her away from him." Pike is like trying to be the voice of reason. She's like, "No, no, no. Just because you're mad because he's swooping in on your piece of shit girlfriend doesn't mean he's a killer." He's like, "Well, no, who else would it be? It makes sense." And she's like, "Well, shit, I guess you're right. I'll go with you to look for Kimberly." So she joins.
Talk about the sheriff's bright blue eye contacts. Because he's frozen, so he's got these bright blue eyes. Oh my goodness. Makeup job on this, not amazing, but at least they brought the sheriff back into play somehow. So he's this big old snowman. Sure, that's fine. Oh, okay. This whole bit here with Kimberly and Kristoff, like, first of all, where the fuck did this active jacuzzi come from? This working jacuzzi. As far as I know there's electricity on the property now, but I thought this place was dilapidated and abandoned, but they sure have this jacuzzi and they're making use of it. And again, she's just such an awful person. She's so quick to disregard her boyfriend, and she takes Kristoff into her embrace and basically calls him out, being like, "I'm aware that there's an act going on." She can read that he's bullshitting them, which, I mean, good on her for picking it up. But she basically seduces him, and then she grabs his wallet out of his pocket and she reveals that his name is not in fact Christoph, it's Chris. And so we learn this whole time this accent, which has been fine, but it's not been an amazing accent, has been fake this whole time. This guy is actually American, beautiful blonde, very handsome guy, but yeah, all American boy named Chris. So he drops the accent, and you find out he's been putting on this character this whole time. But again, in the sense of character motivations, this guy doesn't know any of these people. what the fuck is the point of putting on this elaborate fucking accent? Nobody here needs to suspect that you're French at all. You don't know any of these people. And so you could just be like, hey, yeah, I'm just coming up to this area to snowboard. I don't know. Why does he have to fake this whole persona? It seems like such a big choice, and then he has to keep up this shtick the whole time he's hanging out with them. Doesn't make any sense to me.
I thought the same thing, but then he also is like, "Oh, I'm up here to investigate my friends." He tells her I'm a killer. We find out basically he was one of the snowboarders that killed the little girl, right? And his friends have gone missing, and he suspects that they've been murdered by somebody up here. So he's up here investigating, and he heard them at the gas station say that they were going to this lodge. So he decided he was going to play this act to join them. He also dated Shelly, and it was her sister. He tells Kimberly it was her little sister that got killed, and their dad hates snowboarders, and he thinks that the dad has something to do with his friends disappearing, which is why he's up there. And then she's like, "Oh, that sounds dangerous," and she pushes him down underwater so he can eat her out.
Big, big, glaring issue that I have here. He has this whole moment where he just like dumps everything on Kimberly before she forces him to eat her out. And he tells her this whole story, and he's like, the girl, the one that your friend Skylar's been hanging out with, Shelly's my ex. And then the whole story kind of evolves off of that, builds off of that revelation. How the fuck does he know that Skylar's hanging out with Shelly? How the fuck has Kimberly even been introduced to Shelly? All they know so far is that dude saw a random girl skiing, and that was it. This present day, Kimberly's been up learning how to snowboard with Kristoff, and they have not been around for any of Skylar's interactions with Shelley. They have no idea that he finally met her, that he had a run in with Bud. He has no idea about any of this. Unless I'm missing something here, how the fuck does Chris know that there's been an interaction between these two characters? And how is Kimberly at all aware of who Shelley is?
You're right. Kimberly would not know who Shelly is. So when he says that to her, I was like, wait, Kimberly would have no idea. However, I will say, if you go back and watch the scene where Bud confronts Skylar and Shelly and tells her to go back home, there is a moment where you see Kristoff behind them, and he sees what's going on, and he ducks behind a tree because remember, he disappears for a little bit. And that's why Kimberly thought that he ditched her, and then he appears, and remember, she's like, "Where have you been?" You do see Kristoff. Kristoff did witness the whole confrontation between Bud, Skylar, and Shelly. However, uh, Kimberly did not. So she would have no idea that who his friend has been hanging out with. That is a glaring mistake there, but he does see that confrontation.
She would definitely not have any idea who he's talking about. Like, she plays along as though she's clued in on the dialogue. It doesn't seem like there's enough setup for him to even know, aside from witnessing this brief moment. Okay, sure. I just don't think it would make sense that he'd be able to disclose this and have it be something that she would follow or understand. But it just played off like casual dialogue between the two characters.
Yeah, yeah, it's real weird. Again, I don't none of this is all so very, like, just convoluted, but yet still by the numbers. And then I hate this next scene, like, where Pike and Skylar find the shed where Kirk was killed, and they actually go in it, and all over the floor are those little skier rule brochures, and there's all kinds of clippings about various people that have been dead or gone missing, like a little girl killed, woman killed by drunk snowboarders, and there's this music box that's playing, and there's a table, and originally think that it's a doll sitting at the table, and Skylar has his camera out, and they go to approach this doll because Pike says, "Get this doll on camera. This is such a creepy doll." And when they get over to it, Roger, it's revealed that it is the frozen body of the little girl. I want to know, A, how long ago did this happen? Because I don't think this body would stay frozen for years. Like, you can't tell me there'd never been a day where the temperature got above freezing. that it would thaw out this body because keep in mind, when you see the outside of the shed, there are massive areas where the snow is melted. Am I right? So how is this body still preserved perfectly? And C, how does nobody know about it? And like, why do they? It's very common knowledge that this girl was killed. Did they not know that her body was like never buried or never recovered? It's just so fucking stupid. Like, why is this whole plot point about the little girl's frozen body being kept in this secret mine? Like, what the fuck?
This is one of the most obnoxious moments in the whole fucking film. Because, yeah, all of your issues with it, absolutely valid. And then also, it never comes back into play again. If they found this female's corpse, this young girl's corpse, first of all, their reaction would be a lot bigger. They barely notice it. And then they're like, oh, whoa, it's a frozen body. And then they like crack some jokes about it. This girl has clearly had to have been here for a while. And it does not make sense that she would be rock frozen out there. It doesn't make sense that she wouldn't be in some state of decomposition, you know? Like, I get it if it's kept if you keep meat in a freezer, it's gonna fucking freeze over, but it just doesn't seem in this space, it doesn't seem like it makes sense for her to be in the state that she's in. But then also, when it's revealed, the reasoning, the motivation behind the killer, them having the corpse of the little girl just it doesn't make any sense. It's not relevant. It's not necessary. I mean, you need a way bigger crazy reveal to sell me that they also kept the corpse a la like a psycho situation just sitting there. You know, like it doesn't seem like it makes sense for the situation that's unfolding. Why is she there?
Who's keeping her? Is it Shelly that's keeping her, or is it the dad? Does the dad know that the body's there? Like, you would think the dad would know that his daughter was never, like, buried or whatever. It's so fucking stupid. But then you get the killer coming in and attacking them, and this is when Pike does step up because she bashes the killer in the head with her snowboard, and they're trying to get out, but Skylar has to go back to get his camera. He realized he left his camera. Oh, we also have to say that they see the killer, they rush to slide the door shut, and this is when Kirk's dead body, falls onto Pike and knocks her down. So now they know Kirk's dead. There's a frozen little girl. None of their reactions are very big. When Skylar goes back to get his camera, the killer does pick up a hatchet that's been laying on the floor and hacks him in the leg with it. And this is when Pike goes back and bashes him one more time in the snowboard and knocks him out, and they're able to take off. I don't know. This scene just rubs me the wrong way. I don't Again, this is when the film should be picking up into, like, high gear, and I should be on the edge of my seat, and I'm just being, dumped over the head with stupidity, and so it's really
Yeah.
hard for me to, like, "Oh, this is." Yeah.
This location feels like such an exposition dump. It has all of the tropes. It has a fucking music box, so I'm guessing it has to be Shelley, because I'm guessing it's something she shared with her sister. It's got newspaper clippings galore to give you all the plot points that you need. It's got those goddamn pamphlets all over with the skier's responsibility code or whatever the fuck it's called, you know, and like it just feels like an exposition dump. It feels like such a set piece that doesn't feel like authentic or motivated at all. It's just there again. It's there because it has to be. And then you've got this whole reveal with the killer. But I feel like the killer, really, one of the issues I have with this killer, the skier, is not only is he not scary or not really like intimidating, his uniform's kind of cool, but he's not really that scary, but he's just also really like clumsy. He doesn't really successfully kill people unless he gets the best of them. If he sneaks up and they turn around, he's there, he can kill them, like the sheriff or like Kirk. But if there's a moment where people actually like, defend themselves, they tend to like overwhelm him pretty fucking easily. He's not that threatening.
No, and I don't think again, there's nothing that tells me from what we know of Shelley that she is that crazy or that devastated that her little sister was killed. Do you know what I mean? She never even mentions it. If they wanted to do paint by the number slasher, which I think they were going for, like, give her a speech at the end where she talks about how devastating it is that she lost her little sister and her little sister was her best friend. We don't even get that. The only thing that she says at the end during her killer reveal is, "Snowboarders off my mountain." That's it, and then she's dead. We don't get any sort of Rebecca Gayheart, speech from her about anything. So, like, it just does not vibe that she would keep this body. For what reason? I don't you don't seem that all I don't know. It's so fucking stupid, but let's move on. Cole actually runs in and catches Kimberly and Chris. Chris is fucking railing her. I'm jealous. He is railing her in that hot tub. Cole walks up on it and he's like, "What the fuck?" He freaks out. He's like, "I was risking my life for you and now you're fucking a killer. You killed your friend." Kimberly's fucking confused. She's like, "No, what are you talking about? He told me it was an accident and that little girl wasn't my friend." Cole takes off. She goes after him. She gets out of the tub to go follow him. And they run into Pike and Skylar, who explain that they just had a run in with the killer. And Pike points out to a very adamant Cole that, hey, if you just ran into Kimberly with Kristoff, Kristoff cannot be the killer because I was literally just face to face with the killer 30 seconds ago. Well, cut to Chris in the hot tub. This is another thing that's problematic. Somebody approaches. Again, Chris's whole demeanor has changed. He was just freaked out a little bit ago about what's going on, but now he's turned into a sex pot because he's laying there with his eyes closed, like, "Oh, honey, you have to slow down. I can't do it again. You're gonna like, I can't do it again. You have to give me some time." And then he opens his eye and he recognizes somebody, which would be, I'm assuming, Shelly, right? And he says, "Wait, I didn't do anything. I didn't tell them anything. Don't do this." And then bashes him in the face with the shovel, kills him. What does he mean by "I didn't tell them anything"? Like, does he know
I'm
that
guessing that she's the one keeping the frozen
what
body.
does he know? Does he know that he that she killed his friends? It's so confusing because he does recognize the person. He's like, "Oh, I didn't say anything. I didn't tell him anything. You don't have to do this."
But it makes it seem like Chris is in on
Yes.
shit with her.
Yes.
And what you said, okay, you used the term his demeanor change. Characters' demeanors change over the course of this movie all the fucking time. And it's so annoying. For Chris, like up to this moment, Chris has seemed problematic in that he's, fucking a girl who's dating somebody, but he also seems like he's like haunted by something and trying to figure things out, trying to figure out what happened to his friends, trying to get to the bottom of this. He's also partially responsible, apparently, for the little girl's death. He's also got an ass on him like a Christmas fucking ham. I mean, I in my words, that dumper couldn't be plumper, and thank God for that, because it's the only thing in this movie that really makes it worth watching. It's a fat ass, and it looks good, and you see a lot of it. But then you got this bit where, yeah, he's talking to the killer, and so many aspects of what is revealed here just don't land, including he mentions that he dated Shelley at one point, and so am I to, like, gather that he dated Shelley and then killed her sister, and then she got, like, pissed and has had a vengeance? Or did he kill the sister, then dated Shelley? Like, it's very vague. I don't understand the relationship here, but obviously he still has some kind of connection with Shelley, and she kills him here, and it just doesn't land for me. It doesn't make sense. It totally doesn't fit after the confrontation he just had with the group of friends. They're all freaking out. He shouldn't be so relaxed in this jacuzzi. It just feels very disconnected from everything else that's unfolding.
Oh, absolutely. So the group hears him scream when he gets hit with the shovel, so they rush back and they find him dead, floating in the hot tub. And Cole's like, "Oh, I guess it can't be him. Well, let's get out of here." So they rush out to the truck. The truck has been tampered with. The hood's open, wires have been pulled out. Kimberly screams and she kind of rushes towards the house and then she screams again. And we see that basically three dead bodies have been splayed out looking like snow angels. So you have obviously you have the sheriff, you have Kirk, and you have some other fucking I don't know. There's three bodies. Whoever the three people that have gotten killed so far, they're sprawled out there like goddamn snow angels, and blood's everywhere. They rush back into the cabin where Pike declares that they are being killed for not following the skiers' rules. And Cole declares that's bullshit. He's like, nobody's going to kill over that. Kimberly's fucking having a breakdown. They tell her to stay there, that they have to mend to Skylar's legs. They take Skylar upstairs and she goes to look for weapons. Kimberly does. So she goes into the basement and goes down to look for stuff. She opens up a door that says batteries on it, and then the fucking skeletal remains of like three other snowboarders fall out on her. So all these fucking bodies are just planted everywhere around this property, and I'm assuming these are the 3, like, these are, Chris's friends, right? The other 3 that killed whoever, I guess.
Somebody got killed by these people, and their corpses are now there. Nobody seems affected by it other than Kimberly, because she tells people, and they almost like chuckle it off. Very weird. I want to point out another glaring issue. Kimberly, up on the mountain, Kimberly throws on Chris's yellow jacket, his parka, whatever the fuck it's called, and a pair of galoshes. She's otherwise just in panties under that because she was in the jacuzzi. Then they get back to the lodge. They find the dead bodies laying out like snow angels, and she's wearing black tights and a red jacket. So she's back in her regular wardrobe. Then they get to the lodge. She's freaking out. She's arming herself. And all of a sudden, she doesn't have pants on again. And she's in a black turtleneck. Then she goes into the basement and she's wearing a cream colored top and leopard skin panties and Ugg boots. It is so confusing. Clearly, something got fucked up here. She takes her pants off again for no reason. She's literally flipping out and she takes off her pants for no reason. And then she's running around looking for weapons. I really think that they filmed that bit with her at the beginning of the shoot. They filmed this whole thing with Kimberly running around, and then they realized, oh, fuck, we had her pants off. Well, Kimberly, we're going to need you to take your pants off to make it all make sense. It literally makes no sense that this girl has no pants on for the rest of the movie. But she doesn't. She's just in a pair of panties, holding a goddamn frying pan and a goddamn fire poker.
What do you
And
expect?
that's it.
What do you expect? She just got railed in a jacuzzi. I mean, what do you want
Good
her to
for
have? I
her.
know, especially by that
Going
sta
out strong.
So Pike and, well, mended Skylar's leg, and they keep him there, and I guess Skylar, they gave him some pot or something because he's totally fucked up now, but they go out to try to fix the truck, and because she is assumed a lesbian, she is the one that's able to fix it. But
She's a truck driving woman.
before she
She's a truck driving
right,
woman.
before she does it, she's like, "Oh, there's something I wanna get out of the way before, in case we don't make it or we don't get to do it," and, like, she kisses him, alright? And, he reciprocates, and it's like, "Oh, okay, these 2 are starting to warm up to each other." In the meantime, Kimberly's back in the house. The killer sneaks in, like, breaks the lock, sneaks in, goes behind Kimberly, goes upstairs to Skylar, and talk about lines that just come out of nowhere. Like, Skylar sees the killer approach, and he says to him, "Hey, you can't kill me, I'm a virgin." Like, what why are you saying a weird, like, comedic line? It just doesn't fit. You know what I mean? Yeah, for me, this line, we've heard this line before, right? We've heard this, but here it just seems really out of out of place. Well, the killer, and Skylar's filming. The killer shoves the ski pole through the camera lens and basically ends up impaling Skylar through the eye through the camera. Fitting, I
This
guess. I
scene is very
I
frustrating,
know. Oh,
Troy.
I know.
Ooh. So, an array of reasons, and I'm not going to go too long on it because we've already spent more time on Shredder than we fucking ever should have, but we're here, so let's just talk about it. First off, this is a slasher. There are moments that should be allowed to be scary. Why are you injecting one-liners and humor into what is about to be one of your few kill scenes? Like, really, there's not many good kill scenes in the film. So there's that. Skylar has been a major character. He's annoying as all fucking get out, but he's a major character. And they just had that really good effect. I will say this. When he gets that chop in the leg and they're stitching it up, that looks great. So clearly they can do some gore here because there's that wound, they're stitching it, it's bleeding, it looks really good. So right now, I'm expecting you're going to kill off Skylar. This is going to be big. And you got a whole setup, you got the camera. Well, knowing who the killer is, and knowing that Skylar has already established somewhat of a relationship, isn't this just a prime territory to tie that up, to give this moment a certain beat to kind of conclude the relationship that maybe started forming between him and Shelley. Because other than that, that just has it serves no purpose, really. Like, why would you investigate that? Why would you touch on that? Why would you allow that to develop, to let them develop some interaction, some blossoming romance, and never approach it again? And then there's the whole thing, he's got the camera up, and the killer stabs the fucking ski pole into the camera, but doesn't go through all the way. And he just, like, looks at it, and then he puts it back, and then the killer stabs him. I get that he's drugged up, but this is the most pathetic kill. This guy literally just sets himself up to die. He doesn't defend himself, nothing. And I get that they're trying to inject some of that fucking humor that I keep mentioning is a part of this, but I really think that the comedy in this film is a detriment. Like, it is a negative aspect of this movie. I like a little humor in my horror movies. I like a slasher that's able to chuckle and get me to laugh a couple times. I appreciate that, but this prioritizes the humor over the horror, and it really, really disappointed me how lame this kill was because he just kind of screams and he just drops to the ground, and then you get that one cool shot of the blood starting to pour out of his eye and come through the vent above Kimberly. That's kind of cool, but the kill itself couldn't be lamer.
It's bad, and yeah, the problem with the humor is it's not funny. It's fucking dumb, it's stupid, and it takes you out of the moment. Yeah, I mean, Kimberly does hear him scream, and when she looks up at the vent, the blood starts dripping onto her, and she screams, and she screams bloody murder, alerting the killer where she's at. She runs down into the basement again and opens a door to hide in it, and Chad's body is in there with his head almost detached from so we do find out that the skier in the opening scene that gets decapitated, it was Chad, right? That's who they've been waiting for. That was him. News to me, but that's who it is. Okay, so she hears the killer coming, so she has to hide into this closet. So she opens it and gets in. And outside, Cole and Pike have made progress on the truck. They're making progress. They're making progress. Kimberly like takes a moment because she doesn't hear anything. She peeks out the door and sees the walkie-talkie or the radio on the table outside the door. So she does rush out, grab the radio, but at the same time, the killer's coming down the stairs, so she has to go right back into that closet. And this dumb bitch, she's in this closet trying to hide. She knows the killer's right outside. She radios Cole. She's like, Cole, Cole. He hears her, and of course he responds, but her radio is on full blast. So you hear, Kimberly, is that you? The killer alerts the killer to where she's at. So what does the killer do? Obviously try to get into that fucking door and it starts busting the door with the ski pole. Kimberly screaming, why are you trying to kill me? I do like the moment where the ski pole goes through Chad's head, and you get that moment where like the head is stuck on the end of the ski pole and it's like flapping in front of Kimberly. And
That's
yeah,
great.
she's screaming bloody murder. The killer's trying to reach in to reach the doorknob and cannot. So, le silence. Kimberly thinks that the killer is gone. She gives it a few seconds. She opens the door. She runs out, runs right into the killer, who apparently stabbed. We don't see what happens. We see the aftermath, but all you see is you hear her scream, you hear a thud, you see the radio hit the floor, and then you see that trail of blood. Yeah, that's Kimberly's death. Now, you talk about okay. What what transpires with her final moment pisses me off so bad. I can it just makes me see red, right? For a lot of reasons. But Cole hears this whole thing and he tells Pike to keep working on the truck, fix the truck. He runs downstairs, he runs into the house, he runs downstairs. He finds Kimberly lying on the floor, dying. She's been stabbed in the chest. Okay, her this bitch knows she's dying. Her last word to him, the last thing she says is, "I never loved you." Okay, 2 things.
Fuck you, bitch.
Exactly. Like, what a horrible thing to say, but then on the flip side, would she really say that? Like, is that really gonna be the last words you speak when you know you're dying?
Especially this guy who's really doing everything to keep people alive right now. I get it, you just cheated on him, but he could have been like, fuck you, I'm not going to help you. And instead, he's fighting for your life. You're gonna just leave this guy by
I never
like,
loved you.
you're gonna dying breath, you're gonna leave him with the last thing he ever hears from you? I never loved you. Like, fuck you.
Yeah, that is, but I know Kimberly has been a bitch throughout the whole movie, but my problem more is that it just seems so out of character. I don't think this character would say this as she's
No.
dying. I know she's been a cunt. I know she's a cheating, but I don't think she would say this. In fact, she's been beckoning Cole. She knows Cole's trying to help. She's having this breakdown. Just a few minutes ago, she was screaming like totally helpless, and now you're going to tell me that she has the gusto to tell this dude, "Oh, I never loved you." That's gonna be like your last. It rubs me the wrong way. It's a horrible line. I hate it with a fucking passion. He's like, "Whatever," he's taken aback. In the meantime, the killer has pushed a cabinet in front of the door so he can't get out. Outside, Pike does get her lesbian ass does get that truck started, Roger. She's knows her mechanics, so that truck starts. She throws it into drive, but before she can drive away, the killer opens the passenger door and gets in. Pike's able to push the killer out of the car and drive back a few feet, but then sits there and waits for the killer to stand up because she's going to hit him. You know, it's this, again, trope we've seen 1,000 times. The killer stands up. I don't know how this happens. Pike drives towards the killer. The killer jumps out of the way. There is a large tractor like right there, stationary. It's not like it moves. It's not like you can't see it. Pike drives right into it. So
And the truck catches on fire.
yes, and she like, gets bashes her head on the head thing. But as she wakes up, the killer like literally opens the door with the ski thing and it like attacks her. And at the same time, Cole is able to get out of this locked room or the blocked room he's in. And we do see the killer drag Pike's body to the snow hill and put it on the snow hill. Now, this is the problem I have. Cole gets outside. He runs out there and he finds Pike's body. Roger, she's dead. Nobody passes out with their eyes wide open, glassed
She's
over.
absolutely dead.
Yes. That not one person in history has passed out or been knocked unconscious with their eyes wide open. You can die with your eyes wide open, but you're not gonna be knocked out and unconscious, but your eyes staring straight up, glassed over, no expression. That's how he finds her.
And the whole bit in the truck, because I think doesn't the killer bash a piece of wood through the glass and it comes, you see it
No,
comes
there's a
zooming at her
hole in her
face.
forehead too.
Yeah. So when you see her, there's a massive wound in her head. And again, could she survive that? Yeah, but it really feels like they killed her off and then they decided to bring her back last minute. That's how this feels. But this whole ending, I've used the term disjointed so much over the course of this whole review. All of this feels very, very disjointed, and things are just happening because they have to. Like the whole bit, I really have to just throw a complaint out. Kimberly's whole bit of her hiding in that closet, the way that place is laid out, there are so many ways that she could have gotten away from that fucking killer. She did not have to hide in that closet. She could have gone through a different doorway. She could have escaped multiple different ways, especially the killer goes to the door and then walks outside. She could have just snuck away. Instead of grabbing the walkie-talkie, just run the other way. She was just there in that closet because they needed her to be there so that she could find the body so that they could kill her off that way. And it feels like, again, by the numbers, but in such like a, I mean, in such a negative way, because it's following the tropes because that's all it has. It doesn't have any original concepts, any free form ideas. It's just taken from other movies because it's seen these things happen before. This whole thing with Pike apparently dying as a death scene, does it feel extremely underwhelming? Absolutely. Does it look, though, when he finds her body, that she is deceased? 100%. She's glassy eyed, staring up at the sky. She ain't moving. She ain't breathing. Unless she has enough of a brain trauma from that injury that she shuts down for 10 minutes and fully dies and then comes back to life. There's no explanation for what happens. It feels Very
Oh my
sloppy.
god. Well, there's a whole yeah, there's a lot. Let's get there. Let's get there. Let's bring this puppy home. We're almost there. I said I didn't want to go 2 hours and we're 2
Look at us
there's a
go.
lot to say about this movie, apparently, way more than I thought. Um, so Cole thinks she's dead, so he gets on the ski lift and he's screaming to the killer to like, "Oh, a bunch of nonsense. Look at me, I'm an irresponsible snowboarder. I hate skiers. I'm not going to follow any of your fucking rules. Look at me, I'm being careless." Well, the killer pulls the lever. Ski lift grinds to a halt. Cole then watches as the killer pulls up underneath him in a snowmobile, proceed to get off the snowmobile and take a fucking shotgun and start shooting at him. He has no choice. Again, these people are way more lucky than our three heroes from Frozen because they jump off ski lifts left and right in this movie and nothing happens to him because he jumps off a fucking ski lift. Luckily, there's no wolves around, and he is able to sneak up around behind the killer or who we think is the killer and like knock this person off of the snowmobile and knock the gun out of their hands. And he grabs the gun and he's like, who are you? Who are you? And the skier like says, "Get off my mountain. Why the hell can't you just leave us alone?" He's like, "Who are you? I'll shoot you." He takes off his helmet and it is Bud, Kelly's dad. And Cole's like, why have you killed all my friends? He's like, "I didn't kill anybody. I was just trying to scare you goddamn snowboarders off my mountain. You are the ones that killed people. You killed my wife and little girl. And I just wanted to get you off the mountain." He's like, and Cole's like, stay there, stay there. And Bud's like, I'm going to get you off this mountain, like moves towards him and he shoots. So Cole would have shot him, but when he shoots, nothing happens. And Bud just laughs and he's like, "Oh, it's blanks. See, I wasn't trying to hurt you." Well, Cole bashes him in the fucking face, knocks him out with the shotgun. You get this whole thing with Cole snowboarding down the mountain. Fucking Bud gets on his skis and is pursuing him. And I don't know how this happens. I don't know. Did Cole see this wire, or did he just exit at the right time? Because what ends up happening is Cole goes off to the right just before this wire that was stretched across the snow thing that killed Chad earlier on. I guess it's still there. Nobody else has run into it this whole fucking movie. They've been skiing the whole fucking movie. Nobody else ran into this wire. However, Bud runs into the wire and like his head is sliced clean off. I was so confused about this because Cole didn't put the wire there. I'm assuming it's the same wire that's been there the whole movie, but nobody else has run into it. Why didn't Cole run? I'm so confused.
I mean, as a visual, I guess it's cool because he's on like a snow. What's that called? What's
Snowmobile?
that snow machine?
Snowmobile.
He's on a
Yeah.
snowmobile. Yeah. So it's like you see the visual, you see the head get separated, you see the body go over the hillside on the snowmobile, fully decapitated. It's cool, but like Cole is ahead of him, and I don't care how good of a skier Cole is. Like, I just don't think there's any way he could have missed that wire. They're both on the same path, and so it just doesn't. It's not clear to me how Cole manages to avoid it, and then Bud gets his head fucking chopped off. It just baffles me. But up to this point, I guess it's the least of my concerns because there's so many other glaring issues. But now he's dead. And so it feels like there's this kind of like conclusionary moment, but it does feel very abrupt. You know something else is going to come back into play because it just doesn't feel like it's fully finalized. You know something else has to happen here because he doesn't spend enough time focusing on the death of this guy. It's just very much breezed by. The guy's dead, and Cole's like, I got to get to the main road. I got to try to find some help.
Yeah, so he hikes all the way back into town. He tries to hitchhike. Nobody helps him. Nobody stops him, but he does get back to that bar that he was at earlier that they bought the booze at. Nobody's there. He tries the payphone, nothing. So he goes out the back door and he's immediately trapped. And right in front of him is that fucking giant snowplow. And the snowplow proceeds to start moving towards him. And the door is locked. He can't get back in. We see the blades spinning at full speed. The driver is dressed in all black with the black helmet, and then all of a sudden pulls the mask off, and it is Kelly. And she props the gas pedal down with her ski pole, and she gets out of the snowplow thing to stand there and say, "Snowboarders off my mountain. Who's the shredder now?" All of a sudden, Roger, out of fucking nowhere, Pike appears on the fucking roof above and says, "Shred this, bitch," and shoots her with the shotgun. First of all, couple problems. How did she know that Cole was at this bar? How did she know that's where he went? How did she get there so fast? Because when he left her, she was literally looked dead. How did she get a shotgun that actually had bullets?
Where did that gun come from?
Yeah, there's a whole slew of problems here. The biggest being that she was dead. She was dead, okay? But she does shoot Shelly, who falls off of the snowplow and is in front of it. She's looking, her chest is bleeding. She shoots her again. She falls, and you get the worst. Uh, the worst. Is this even CGI or was this a dummy? It looks so bad. Her getting sucked into the thing.
Looks bad, but at least they went there and gave this individual a pretty big, gruesome kill for a film that's been pretty mild on the gore. It looks bad, though. You're absolutely right. But right before this whole reveal of Shelley, you see her in this vehicle, the guy next to her dead, the guy that's been driving the machine, she obviously killed him. And so you see her, she's in the black mask, and she pulls it off and reveals it's her. And I got questions. I think we all do. I think we all got questions. I'm not normally like, give me an exposition dump monologue. But if there was ever a film and ever a time within a film that required it, I think it's this moment. I think Shelley needed to have a couple more lines of dialogue explaining what the fuck is going on. Because her just saying, like, get off my mountain. Like, I don't buy it. I'm sorry. That ain't enough for me. I need to know why that little girl is frozen in that fucking mine. I want to know who you killed and who you did not. I want to know your relationship with Chris in general. Like, explain that for me. Why were you dating him? Were you dating him when the girl died? Were you dating him after the girl died? Like, when did all this happen? I need you to give me a very clear, ideally, slideshow or PowerPoint explaining all of this because I cannot piece it together for the life of me. And so this character who really has no reason to be in this position or be this crazy. She's done nothing to allude to that at all. All of a sudden, she's in this big power moment, and it just feels so unwarranted. Not saying that this girl is Rebecca Gayheart, but at least let her try it. Give her a shot. Let her try to explain things. Because really, like this, for this girl to be the final grand reveal of the killer, of who this killer is, she's just so forgettable. Shelley herself is such an afterthought here overall. And so for this to be her big final moment, this big final reveal, it's like the last 30 seconds of the film. It doesn't feel at all important. It doesn't hold any weight. And it makes for a very forgettable nemesis. She's just so lame. This last moment is really a lame reveal.
Well, based on her line delivery of the line reading "snowboarders off my mountain," I'm kind of glad they didn't give her much more to do. But yeah, it's really unsatisfying. There's so many questions. We could talk about it and talk about it and talk about it. In fact, we have talked about it and talked about it and talked about it for 2 hours. I doubt there's another person in the fucking world that's talked about Shredder longer than this. But that I guess that speaks volumes of just what a fucking mess this movie is and how many questions there are that we could talk about it for so long. Because yeah, this ending still leaves so many questions. Like, yeah, nothing is explained. I'm still not satisfied with like the whole flashback of the accident and how the mother was now killed. And originally it was just the daughter that was killed, but the mother was, I don't fucking know. But Shelley gets sucked through the snowplow, blood squirts out. Cole and Pike get into the truck. And apparently, Roger, they're going to be a couple now. All is well. They're going to live happily ever after because he tells her, you know what? I'm okay if you want to be bisexual and if you want to bring chicks home for us to fuck. I'm okay with that. And then they get into the truck, and that's the end. And it's like, why are you ending on that note? Going back again to the lesbianism, going back to now him. Oh, I'm okay because you're going to bring chicks home, and I can have some of that. It's just that old stereotype that chicks are just gonna, fuck a guy because or they haven't fucked the right guy. You know what I mean? Like you're a lesbian because you don't have the right guy, and you're gonna bring chicks home, and I can fuck them too, and we're gonna. To end this slasher movie on that note really is a sour taste, really sour taste.
Well, I even hate it because I feel like Pike, after all this, she just saved his fucking ass. She just showed up and killed this broad and seriously saved this guy from a horrible death. And then he busts that line out on her, and you can see the sadness in Pike's face. Like, this is what I have to deal with. This is it. I got the guy, and the guy is really just a piece of shit. It's just such a disappointing ending. And you know what? I'm shocked because I went into this knowing that we were going to kind of rip on Shredder, but we tore this apart. Like, we picked this fucking skeleton clean because there are a lot of issues with this film, and I did have fun watching it, but the way it handles its characters, it's just thoughtless and it's kind of shitty. Like, there's a lot of nasty characters in this film, specifically Kimberly, and that doesn't let up. They don't have any redeeming qualities, and then ending her character on a note like that line, I think perfectly sums this film up because it doesn't care about these characters at all. For Kimberly to go out on such a bitch moment saying, "I never loved you," after this guy's been busting his ass to try to protect her. For her to go out like that, I really think sums up this film because it doesn't care about the individuals that exist within it. They are just plot points to tell a story that's really incoherent. I don't think the story itself, I don't think the filmmakers really know the story. I think they were just kind of flying by the seat of their pants, piece it together as they go. And you could see that in all these little errors. Like I mentioned with Kimberly's costume flaws, different costume pieces that come up over the period of one scene. 3 times her costume changes. I think there just wasn't a lot of attention put into this film, and it certainly was not put into the script. And that's a bummer, but it's fine because a slasher is allowed to be bad. Like, that's okay. I still have fun watching it, but I just feel like I like this film at a time when I was young and hadn't really experienced like quality cinema. And now coming back and watching this, there's just so many better movies, better slashers out there in general. And this really is just not a very good film.
Again, nostalgia from the time period, but and I can see like, that always nostalgia always plays a part in how you feel about a film. But you have to objectively, when you go back and look at it and ask yourself, is this really a good film? And like we watch these movies for a very specific reason on this podcast, and it is to critique them, it is to discuss them in depth. So as much as I might have thought Shredder was a blast when I first saw it back in 2003, revisiting it this time was really, again, I had fun with it, but it was grating. And like I said, I kept tuning out. The characters are horrific. I would say this movie probably has some of the worst, characters I've ever seen in a slasher film, and that's really saying something. The motivation for the killer all over the place, there's no coherent story or no coherent motive at all. Is it you hate snowboarders? Is it you're trying to get revenge? Why the fuck yeah, so many questions. But guys, I know there are fans of this film out there. So you guys, if you enjoy Shredder, please chime in on our social media and comment on what makes you find this film endearing. Again, a lot of times it's nostalgia, and that's fine. But what else? Because I'm genuinely curious. And I'm gonna wrap it up real quick because I feel really bad. Because we're going from one really bad slasher to another really bad slasher, and I want to know, were my hints last week enough for you to figure out what our next film was? Remember the hints I gave you?
Is it Sleepaway
Yes,
Camp?
it's Return to Sleepaway Camp, and it I feel really now I feel bad because this film ooh, wait, have you seen Return to Sleepaway Camp?
No, but all I've heard is you bitch about it. So I can't wait, but also, like, yeah, this was a tough one to get through, and it sounds like the next one's gonna be the same.
Yeah, yeah, I when I saw it pop up on Tubi, I was like, "We have to cover it." We have to, because we've covered the first 3, and it is such a divisive film, like, it is maybe it's not divisive because I don't really know anybody that loves the film, it's widely hated, but I really want to revisit it because, again, same reason to revisit any film or revisit this film, I haven't seen it for so long that is I wanna go back and I wanna ask myself, instead, like with Shredder, the question I'm asking myself when I'm watching it again to rewatch it is this as good as I thought it was when I first saw it? Now with Return to Sleepaway Camp all these years later, I wanna ask myself, is this as bad as I thought it was when I first saw it? So, I am super curious to rewatch it and to have a conversation, especially knowing you've never seen it. So, this will be an interesting one, guys. So, tune in next week, Return to Sleepaway Camp. I know many of you are gonna have really strong feelings about it, and we will be right there with you to discuss it next week. So, tune in.
We're really treating y'all with these last couple episodes. We're gonna have to cover a
Yes.
masterpiece after this
Well
next one. I'm gonna have to
well
pick something really
well,
respectable because
we also have to start thinking about our 200th episode that's quickly approaching and what we're gonna do special for that. So, guys, if you have any
good
ideas
deal.
for what we could do for our 200th episode, throw them out there. We will definitely be open ears.
I was hoping maybe some of our supporters could send us some recorded messages of appreciation. 200 episodes, that's a big deal. So if you want to record something for us, we would play it on that episode. We'll discuss that the next
I think you should
review.
make us
We'll
I think
nurture
you're
that.
the social media guru, you need to start posting that on our social media pages so that people will do it. No, because I think that's a really cool thing. Because 200 we didn't even
All
think we
right.
would last 20 episodes, let alone 200. So here we are.
And look at this
Woo.
now.
All right. Well, I
200 episodes.
2.5 hours talking about Shredder. God damn. If that doesn't get us some
Jesus
five-star
Christ.
reviews, I don't know what the fuck will. I don't know what the fuck will. But guys,
Or a
oh,
one-star
we
review, making people
we
watch it.
we might
Ooh.
get some. Anyway, guys, with that, let us know your thoughts on Shredder. Next week, Return to Sleepaway Camp. With that, good night.
Good night.